the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Let's go to David waiting patiently in northern Rhode Island. Good morning, David. Welcome.
Yes, hello, Patrick. Good morning. I was praying this morning, and in my when I was reading the Word, and I was reading in Acts 4, and in this at this one point, and I'll just briefly read this because it has something to do with what it's all to do with what I'm talking about. Basically, what's happening is that they were gathered after the Pentecost, and Peter and I think it was Peter and John were brought before the Sanhedrin or whatever they were, and they were mad at them. But I'll just read this. It says here, "Indeed, they were gathered in this very city against your holy servant, Jesus, whom you anointed, Herod and Pontius Pilate, in league with the Gentiles and the peoples of Israel. And they have brought about the very things in which your powerful providence you had planned long ago." And so that's the part that I find interesting, is that not only that the people were brought against him, all the nations, but that it seems like God had this plan. Now, in that plan, did he know who was going to do it? And like, is that part of, like, I know as Catholics you don't believe in predestination, so I'm a little confused on how does God do that. I certainly a mystery, but I don't know if you can shed some light on that. Do you understand my question?
Yeah, I think so. Tell me if I have it right. And I'll begin just by saying we do indeed believe in predestination. The Catholic Church clearly teaches the doctrine of predestination. You see it clearly in Ephesians chapter 1 and Romans chapter 8, to give two examples. But perhaps this is what you're thinking of, is that the Church rejects the notion of double predestination, which is a feature, for the most part, of Calvinism. And John Calvin. Okay, so that's what you're thinking of when you're thinking of predestination. That God
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, no problem. So, yes, the Church does indeed teach the predestination of the elect, but not the predestination of the damned, meaning that God creates a certain class of people, a certain group of people who are, no matter what, they're predestined for hell. And that, if it were true, would make God the author of evil, and God is not the author of evil because he's all good. So by nature, it's not a limitation of God, but it would be a contradiction of his nature as being all good. So as we consider in Acts chapter 4, and we see this appeal or this recognition of the way in which people are, you might say, that it's prophesied that something would happen. So let's just take as a parallel to this issue the example of Judas. And we know, and this is a stumbling block for some people, when they think about Judas, they assume wrongly that Judas was forced into something he didn't really want to do, because it refers to that, what Judas did, it was prophesied that he would be the one who would betray the Lord, etc. And the sticking point for some people, not necessarily you, David, but the sticking point is to assume that because it was prophesied, therefore it was programmed, therefore Judas had no say in the matter. He just had to do it because he was the guy. God threw a dart and he was the guy. He had to do it. That's not it at all. And in the same way, when we look at Acts chapter 4 here, and it's describing at a broader level those who set themselves up against the Lord, those who persecuted Jesus, those who would persecute the church. This is a way of talking about how in God's providence, as it says in Romans 8:28, God brings good out of evil, or as it says there, all things work for the good for those who love God. So even terrible things, even the crucifixion of Jesus himself, this murder, this terrible sin that was committed, look at how God turned that into a great victory for all of us. So even in the midst of this calamity, the Lord rises from the dead. He proves that he is who he claimed to be. And in many smaller ways throughout our life, those people, like the ones who are mentioned here, even though they are guilty for their wicked actions, God is not forcing them to do anything. And even though, when it talks about predestination here, at a broader level, it's talking about his providence, how from all eternity God has this plan. And he's not surprised by the evil actions of people. He wasn't surprised by what happened with Adam and Eve.
Yeah, it does. I had this problem because I'm thinking, like, if it's an author of a book, somebody's writing a book, and they're outside of the book, and they're writing everything in the book. They can interject into the book things that happen. But I think in the case of God, it's such a mystery that he doesn't do that. So it's very interesting. He does it because it's a mystery that's beyond my, even that's still a mystery, I guess. I guess I have to accept the mystery.
Yeah, the thing about mysteries, like these kind of mysteries, these august mysteries of the faith of the Bible, is that a mystery is not something, and I forget who first said this, but I really like the way whoever said it, and that is, a mystery is not something you can know nothing about, it's something you can't know everything about. So it's inexhaustible for us and our puny human intellects.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because God doesn't reveal things to us that are unintelligible. Imagine if God revealed things to us that were utterly unintelligible, and there's no way we could even begin to understand it. It would be like, what's the point? So when God reveals things to us, it is intelligible, and we can apply ourselves and study and pray and seek out, scholars and those who know what they're talking about to go deeper and understand it more clearly, recognizing that ultimately we will never be able to completely understand it, certainly not till we get to heaven. Yeah, good point, David.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's good talking. All right. Patrick.
Likewise. Yeah, appreciate the phone call.
That was the Best of the Week on Relevant Radio. The best way to listen to the Best of the Week is on the Relevant Radio app, free and always free. Download and share the #1 free Catholic app today in the App Store.